edge of Stalba towards the western side of it, close to Division X. And well, kind of like match one, they're going to go and do a tango again. Long K has just been shot out from a distance by Chiburit, and will be flushed very quickly with a bit of help from Kamal's 3 early kills here for VTR. And talk about getting revenge for match one, where it was Division X who stole the 2 kills away from Victor Rise. This time they've done it themselves.
Victor Rise will be absolutely laughing right now, getting a couple of kills on the board. They're sitting around pretty much the dead middle of the pack, so everything counts at the moment. And they've got themselves a pretty decent spot to move in off. They've got themselves the edges, they've got a little bit of room to move with, and it looks like they can potentially pick up some rotating kills here from the future if they're lucky.
Great rotation as well. You can see on the minimap, Purple Mood going to go very high up north, just riding that blue wave. They'll come in towards the circle around Cerberus's position. Angel Alliance in the thick of this as well. From the future, just sending it literally through 2 teams right now. Victim Rise and Angel Alliance. Mad Dog, Evil Patrick, the ones that are closest. But Triple X and Hexagon do make it through here from the future, and they can probably now get to a bit of a safe haven around this position of Stalba. There's not too many teams. You got Waiki Kamukau and Insight on the very tippity top of Stalba, but that position's not really going to be a position where they're going to be peeking and binding kills. Simon getting pressured and pushed by Neil, does get the knockdown. There's only one more to deal with, and he's got the high ground. Surely can't lose those. Somehow has Fergus, with a great flick up above, has been able to drop Simon. Mickey now in a 1 versus 1. Has the high ground though. Surely should be able to win it from here. The blue comes in. Hexagon somehow knocked by Waiki Kamukau. I think from the future got a little bit greedy. Went to that tippity top of Stalba and had pushed into Fury. In the end, Hydra Gaming did end up winning that fight. I thought that was going to be a horrible loss to have for themselves, and in the end, I guess it was. They just went out apparently in second last, and it's all happening all of a sudden here. Now phase 4, and it's gone right on top of Flood and Ronan at the warehouse, at the base of Stalba, north of Yasnaya. A complete hard feed here for Fury, and 2 early kills. A great game potentially brewing for Fury.
Yeah, and from the future there, I can't help but feel they just, as soon as they found any sort of spot, like they drove through 6 teams, as soon as you find any spot you should be pulling up, the more you drive, the more likely you are to drive into more people, and it shows because they've just been wiped out by Lokis from Bay there, so not a good game from the future. It looked like it had potential, but they just weren't able to convert it there.
So into the warehouse, this is, I guess, setting the tone for Fury this match. They have got center position here for phase 4. Buram on one side, you can just actually see them when they're off in the distance, and they've got LG Divine on the other side. I wish we could bring up the map right now to sort of show LG Divine's position, but Edge, look how many teams are around LG Divine in this position. Definitely a team to watch over the next 3 to 4 minutes.
If LG make it out of this with all players, or even alive here, I'd be very surprised, because they're just going to get collapsed on by at least 5 teams. So it'd be a big play from LG Divine, but we've got a lot of our top contenders around there as well, like MG, Magic. They're not far off. They're going to be holding the higher side of Stalba against Angel Alliance, so as long as they can finish up Angel Alliance here, they might have themselves a nice spot without a lot of people for a little bit of time here.
There's a bit of a trade here. Evil Patrick's going to go down. Nan did get a knock onto Tong K, but hasn't quite been rewarded for it just yet. Victor Rise able to dodge that nade though from Bryn. They are just playing as a 3. Bryn, the front man here, pushing up that hill's not going to be easy. There's a trade though. 1-for-1, Monty's down. They did get Kamal's. In fact, Samoy going to be knocked as well by Bryn's Molotov. So in the end, 2-for-1. Not bad. Haven't been able to finish any of them off though. Monty has been flushed himself though by Chiburit. And this was the sort of section of the map I was talking about for LG Divine. They haven't got involved yet, they've held their ground, and they're sort of just letting these teams kill each other on the edge of the circle, and this fires everywhere. Valix from above and from behind send Angel Alliance out in 13th position, and unfortunately for Ferox, the high ground was too strong for Victim Rise, who have got 8 kills here for match 2 of the night, and it gets them into the top 8 now, tied for points with Division X Gaming. Isaki eliminated by Buram, and all of a sudden now, I guess over the last minute or 2, it has just cleared up because we've had so many deaths. Players and teams are out. Poochels, but they should be very prominent towards the end of the game.
They definitely should be. With the likes of Buram and Bay, like the only two real contesters on the eastern side, they don't even have to touch each other, and especially with this circle coming in, they can just hold their ground. They've got a lot of space, Bay holding the north, Buram holding the south, and they can just control these zones, not let anyone else in, and just come in late game and just finish everything off. But like we were talking about before with the LG Divine, they've literally stayed still, done not much, and everyone's just forward around them. And LG Divine's just kept themselves alive, and now they're starting to come in and starting to pick up kills. So, good play by LG. They're going to make it into the late game as well, I would say here, unless Simway has something to say about it. But I don't know how much he can get done from the blue here.
Oh, he's going to get that.
Will pick up one, but that should be an instant revive, depending on how quick Magic Gaming can start to push down to rush this out. And
LG Divine will have to push on with just the three remaining players, JN, Namsi, and Levi's. Still a couple of teams around them. This is one of the old tropes though, Edge, you know, for Fury. They're in that position where they've been hard fed at the warehouses, but that position isn't really going to be able to net them kills. They did get a couple very early on at the top of Stalba, but since then, obviously, they've found it quiet. But the way that Phase 5 has just shown itself, I actually think this is where they can now potentially get some kills, because these Western teams like LG Divine, Sharper, Magic Eastwood, if they don't go up north, they're going to have to push in, and we're seeing it right now already. Of course, LG Divine are more than happy to push early, to push quick. They're very decisive like that. It's Kim Siver, though, from a distance, who steals the kill away from Fury. JN knocked by the nade of Insight. Following up from that nade was Blood's nade, and very quickly, LG Divine just gets sent packing in 9th place. No placement point from this match. In fact, really not many points at all. So at least for the teams from 2nd to 7, they can at least just build up a bit of a platform and just climb closer towards LG Divine's very, very high point gap.
Clean it up. They didn't push out. If they had of, Magic would have been able to easily pick up at least a knock and a kill there, I would say. So Fury being able to keep the numbers is actually so big for them right now. And now you see Waikika starting to come alive, gets a knock onto Just Moments from Purple Mood, not Purple Fury. Interesting team name though.
So Phase 6 here for our final match of Erangel for the night already. It's not really still a bad thing either. They should now be able to get some kills here. So 5 on the board. They basically got 3 kills out of that feed. How many can they get now that they've got to start moving again? Rona just checking these rocks, expecting Sharper Esport to maneuver around here. Rona gets on the black, moves away. Fury's still with 4 up, Duram with 4, and Bay with 4. We haven't seen much from Bay this game. We saw Loki's find a kill earlier on, and Sophia with a knock on Blood. Good information as well for Bay here, and they're putting so much pressure on, popping the tires on the bike. They get the knock, they get them stuck in the warehouse. And I think a few smokes are going to have to be used here for Fury to get out from this position. They've got 2 minutes until they have to be further in the next circle.
Yeah, and for Fury here, it's really important that they wait out the blue zone, wait until Sharper gets pushed in towards them. Sharper might opt to go under the rocks rather than push directly at Fury, and if they do that, that could make it really difficult for Fury actually to get out of these warehouses, but it does look like Sharper are pushing directly into Fury now.
To the warehouse, and there's still plenty of time, so Fury can turn around, try and fight this a little bit, make it even difficult for Sharper. I mean, Sharper are the ones that obviously have to push the issue first. They're closer to the blue, so they are going to be the aggressors in this situation. Fury, though, all lumped together. I can just sense a nade being thrown in and seeing a couple of dead bodies flying around. 67 points at the moment for Fury, tied with Bay. Both of them 10 points behind Buram, who are probably going to get max points from this game. So Insight just catches to Noid, surely expecting the refrag to come. Catches the feet there, actually, of Maximus as well. Has Ronan too to cover. Get that quick refrag as well if needed. 2 smokes are up at the back end of this warehouse. A couple inside of the warehouse up as well. Tonight will be eliminated, so Sharper down to just 2 players. In the 2 versus 4 against Fury, I don't sense this is going to go well for them. Kim Siver, Maximus on the other side of this warehouse, but Fury need to get moving as well.
Yeah, Fury's been given a lot of space because Buram's actually pushed on towards Bay now. Bay was trying to hard gatekeep Fury. Flood picks up the winning players onto the Sharper Esports. But now Fury's got to get out. Ronan does get knocked out. Insight will go for that res. Bay left down now only to Sophia after having all of that northern control. Buram's made it really difficult. Waikiki nice knock onto Tonkei. This will definitely help them start to get, but they still have Unicorn Cyber, the rest of, or the last player from Cerberus and Buram on their heels. So
yeah, Buram
it's going to be very rough.
Swept up to the north. They dealt with Bay. They've got complete circle control, complete phase 7 control here. They know where Cerberus, Unicorn, Fury are all located. At this point, it would be incredible if they don't win this game, unless Fury can get out of here with all 4 players up. The late stage of this game, Subang has been spotted though by Ronan. Flood is out, and we're down to 4 versus 3 versus 1. It's Clee, Corn Cyber. This is going to be the most amount of points they're getting in one game, I think, for the whole season so far. Somehow, Unicorn have made it to the top 3 in this game. 7 kills for Buram though. Fury obviously have done well to this point, but they're losing players too quickly. Inside did get Clee. It's down though to a 2 versus 4, and Nordra's just knocked Insight so quickly, and that blue starts making its way in. It's down to Ronan. And even Ronan can be like Korean sometimes. A 1v4 is even out of his depth, and at a lowered position. Buram, talk about control. Close out of the night. They pick up the chicken dinner here for PCS3, 8-pack day 3. And that closes out Erangel, and they also close the gap to LG Divine. It's only 20 points now.
Yeah, Buram played their edge of circle, as usual, exceptionally well. They did absolutely everything they needed to. They put north originally, cleared out Bay. Bay was just being a pest to everyone on the lower side of the circle, and then they swept back in and started taking their control back, and once they had control of that circle, no one else had a hope. But one big thing I really want to point out for Fury there is, Fury knew that they had no hope in that game. They really did, and they literally just started running at everyone, trying to pick up as many kills as they could before they walked into the Buram blender.
Yeah, I think you touched on it perfectly. Buram's edge control definitely shown there on display here for match number 2 of the night. Well, it all started off, of course, with a bit of a flurry early on. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. Stay alive to the very end and got them a top 3 placing, their best placed finish so far for PCS3 8-pack. I'm happy to hear my words there. They did well in the situation they were put in. Magic Esport, unfortunately, when Tonkei goes down, they don't really do too much else from that point onwards. Levi's, well, LG Divine, they had it tough this match, Edge, and unfortunately for them, they weren't able to show us what they've got when the going gets tough.
Yeah, it just wasn't enough there, but it was a pretty good showing, honestly. Like, they did a lot of work to get as far as they did, and...
I mean, they got 2 points, I mean...
Yeah, but the position that they were stuck in, it was sort of a rock against a hard place, so... I mean, they could more, obviously, but, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, look, eyes are going to be on LG Divine pretty much from now until the end of this season, but we shift focus to Buram United. They, of course, got the chicken dinner. They are now only 20 points behind LG Divine, and I think it actually just goes to show how quickly things can change in PUBG esports, because, you know, from a 40-point gap, and we're sitting here saying, okay, it's PCS2 all over again, they've got this great lead, they're going to run away with it. Well, 20 points, it's not that much. We've still got a lot of games to play as well. We might not have a runaway on our hands. We may not even have a capitulation on our hands either, because really for LG Divine, they only got to that 40-point gap for one game. For everything else, it's been 20, 30 points, which is not that much of a lead anyway. For Buram, though, they do pick up their 2nd win of the tournament, so they're keeping up the pace really, really nicely.
3 more wins and they'd probably a little bit more comfortable along the likes of LG Divine, but you know, you get what you can. Buram coming out, getting a lot of kills with it as well, and same with Fury. They're definitely keeping the pace up there.
Yeah, obviously I think, and it's nice for me, an Elfish guy, really on the first weekend, during the pre-shows, we really highlighted what is the proverbial top 3 of APAC, and that's LG Divine, BURAM, and Fury, and they're very much showing that as the match leaderboard shows it heavily too. Talk about sponges there at the top, BURAM and Fury, 20 and 18 points. That's a large chunk of points going to just the 2 teams. Everyone else in single digits, and obviously the big one, LG Divine, just the 2 points gained. Bay, though, I thought they'd get more from that match considering their position. They had 4 up towards late game, but they, like many teams, kind of got swept by BURAM towards the end. Only the 4 points gained, but they do hold a top 4 placing. Sharper rounding out the top 5 right now. But in terms of the top 4, Edge, it's pretty similar to PCS2 APAC.
Yeah, it's starting to look that way. It's very close and it's slowly building out. Obviously, we come into this tournament and our favourites would have been Divine, BURAM and Fury, and this shows exactly why. They've all got the fragging power, they've all got the game smarts, so it just comes down to the RNG of PUBG in each individual game as it comes.
There's still a bit of a logjam, I think, from about 4th to 9th. I'm happy to sort of call it there. Angel Alliance, Hydra Gaming from the future, the teams that were in the more extended logjam at the start of the night have fallen away just slightly. Need to see potentially a little bit more from them over on Miramar, which I guess for a team like Angel Alliance, for instance, they've been fantastic on Miramar. Another team that's been fantastic on Miramar has been LG Divine. So much so, they haven't actually lost a game on Miramar so far for PCS3 APAC. So we're going to, I guess, see if that trend can continue, Edge.
If this continues, I don't even know what to say. They're probably the best, obviously the best Miramar team in APAC. They've just had that much of a solid showing.
Well, LG Divine are 4 from 4 of Miramar so far here for PCS3 APAC. They've got 2 more Miramar games to come after the break.
Ya, mulai.
Slap on the sunscreen, we're heading over to Miramar. Erankal is done and dusted for the day. 2 games remaining, and so far we've had a banger of a night edge. It, of course, was the LG Divine weekend last weekend, but so far it hasn't quite gone all to plan for them. That lead now down to just 20 points with the Perekam United victory. It puts the pressure right onto them, but of course the storyline doesn't drift too far away from LG Divine for very long, because as we head into Miramar, as I said before the break, they've got a 4 out of 4 record of getting wins on Miramar so far for PCS3 APAC. That's right, they've won every single Miramar game so far, and we've got 2 games to come. If they can win those 2, it bodes well for their chances of winning PCS3 APAC.
We almost might be coming back to PCS2, where teams started to catch up. LG Divine started to choke a little bit. You know, it might be happening a bit earlier than previously, so hopefully for LG Divine's sake they can keep their composure and keep on having consistent games here coming up, because they're definitely going to need it. Fury and Buram are hot on their heels.
Yeah, definitely, and you know that they're not going to go away. We've seen that throughout PCS 2020. Every single one of the events that those teams, Buram, Fury, constantly keeping the pressure on the teams at the top. Here's the damage though from match number 10, our final game of Erankal. No surprise really here, Edie leading the way. He's been a huge standout for Buram United so far here for PCS3 APAC. 2 members from Fury as well on the board there. Shows what a decent game that they had too. Of course, they're still right in the race for that top spot. They're not going to go away easy either. The leaders, I believe, 34 points for them, so they're about 34 points behind top spot at the moment, which is really not that large considering we've still got a good 14 games to go. There's a lot of PUBG still to get through.
Yeah, and what we see from players like Tongkai, they're always picking up damage, they're always picking up kills, even though their team might not be converting that well into the late game, but they're always just getting points to keep themselves relevant. Yep. So we've still got all of these teams that are just fighting with everything they've got, tooth and nail, until they can't anymore.
Teams that do need to turn around though, picked on them a few times now. Angel Alliance, great day number 1. A lot of that coming on Miramar though. So as we do head back to Miramar, I'm excited to see how Angel Alliance are going to go. If they can pick things up, maybe turn their fortunes around. They have unfortunately now dropped down to 10th. At one point they were in the top 5 and cemented quite so as well. Division X have sort of held firm around the middle of the pack, whereas of course Bay have continued their trend upwards. That was a discussion we had at the start of the show when Bay were in that 9th or 10th position and Division X were in that 9th or 10th position as well. We head into match number 3 though of the night for day number 3. A PCS APAC number 3. It all comes up in 3s, although for LG Divine they're looking for number 5. Win number 5 on Miramar.
Yeah, number 5 win. It'd obviously be beautiful if you're LG Divine, but how plausible will it really be when we've got all these other teams coming in and looking to take away the throne from Divine? We've got our top 5 players up at the moment, and we still see the likes of Buram up in that equal number 1 spot with the likes of Namc and Gen Foss. So even Gen Foss, VTR have been having pretty decent games. They're getting a lot of kills. Miramar, they're up in that top 5, so we'll be able to see if they can really pull out all the stops as well here and get some more points on Miramar.
LG Divine 65 points here on the rankings to the right hand side of your screen. The next best is 30 with 3 teams, Shampa, Division X and Cerberus. So those are the ranking points on Miramar so far over the first 4 Miramar games that we've seen so far. Down at the bottom though, not good news for the likes of Purple Mood, From the Future, Unicorn, for those guys usually getting more of their points on Erangel. So they'll of course have to turn their fortunes around here on a map that hasn't really been quite fortunate for them. 113 points, that's where LG Divine are at right now. They picked up 2 points in the previous game. We do head north, which is a bit more of a hilly terrain, as Elfish Guy likes to label it, compared to the south side. Definitely more mountain up on the north side of Miramar.
What we've actually seen a little bit recently from circles is it going actually north side of the Cobra area. So it'd be very interested to have one of those circles for PS. Quite APAC extra spicy, so it'd be nice to see something there, but generally they kind of all just come back down to Crater Field sort of area and your sort of stock standard finishes, but I'd definitely be interested in having a bit of a spicy one.
Certainly been a while since I've seen Oasis as well as a finish. It's very difficult to see that one, or even just at least around the Oasis region, as you were saying, even just north of La Cabrera. But usually with this sort of circle, my bet would be either Crater or water treatment. Those tend to be, I guess, the staples as you coined it here. Watching EARPHONE United Esports has just been amazing so far for PCS3 APAC. Really as a whole throughout 2020, I think a lot of the focus has been on Nordra. At one time, an MVP over in the Thailand series. God Meow's great. Kanaxi also gets a lot of the attention, but I think Edie has stepped up in terms of really grabbing the attention here for PCS3 APAC. And speaking of attention, well, no team gets as much of it than LG Divine, for good reason, and especially as we head over to Miramar, where they're averaging 16.3 points and 6.3 kills. Ridiculous stats for them. Obviously the 10 placement points and the 6 kills is why they're averaging 16, but it's, if you're averaging 16 points a game, Edge, you're winning any tournament in any region.
Yeah, I mean, that's an absolute comfortable win. I think generally on average the winning team is sort of like around 10 points across each map, like, and that's if they're having like an absolute ripper of a tournament. So, and we do know Divine has been having an absolute ripper of a tournament, so they can carry that up and they're going to be sitting pretty.
Couple of seat swaps there to Gypsy Danger from the future Bay, driving by San Martin and Hacienda. Tong K is going to be the first elimination of this game though, and well, it's never good to lose a teammate, but when it's arguably your best player, Magic Esport, I'm going to be up against it here for the remainder of the game. 4 minutes in and you've lost Tong K, your damage dealer, your high kill getter, your initiator, and just your general star player, and now you've got the rest of LG Divine pushing on your position. This does not bode well. Valix is able to stay alive though, avoid the brunt of that damage, get to the minivan as LG Divine start to sweep around the compound. Magic might get fortunate here if a player like JN or Jun push a bit too early, they get knocked early, they can go down, and that's going to make it very difficult then for LG Divine to continue this push. But it's LG Divine who are the ones being aggressive, getting the knock. They got the tag onto Umama, forced him away from the window. The nade goes in to confirm it. JN throws the underarm as well, jumping on over Jun, and he's got backup as well. Look how quick they sweep through. It's only Valix that remains, and without Tong K, Magic Esport were always going to be sitting ducks. Did get the knock onto Jun, but fortunately JN was there. 4 early kills for LG Divine, and welcome home to Miramar.
Yeah, Divine really don't want to give up their lead right now. Taking first circle breaches is such a big risk. Reward is so strong right now, especially because they get such a central spot. They have Levi split off as well. We did see Bay up on the top hill above them. I thought Bay might have taken one for the team and tried to help out Magic in Wipeout LG there, but they're just so strong. They absolutely swept them so quickly and with such ease. It's just brilliant to see a team in such good form.
Pick'em challenge update as we continue to progress throughout the tournament. Obviously, Unicorn got a votes prior to the games starting. Going to be receiving many more votes now that it's quite evident they're not going to be winning PCS3 APAC. LG Divine, you would think at this point, have obviously the best chances. Clear doing a bit of a barrel roll with the Murado. That's not going to be flipped back up without some help. Of course, for LG Divine, they have now taken first place for the Pick'em Challenge. Buriram, Fury, not quite as close as maybe they were. PCS to APAC in terms of these challenge points. Of course, the date hasn't quite finalized yet. I could be wrong, Edge, you might know. I think it closes after tomorrow's game.
I believe so. I think after Europe has finished their game for Sunday, it will close up. So that'll be when you'd want to make your pick'ems. And go about it. Just don't forget about it. That's the only problem.
Yeah, exactly right. Obviously, leave it to the last second. Or at the very least, if you're voting for APAC, you may as well just leave it until tomorrow night. Results are done, and then you can vote. You'll still have a bit of time. So, obviously, right now, I'm not sure if I can actually recommend any votes, because at this point...
The likes of Fury, they've done it before. They can probably do it again. But even still, at the moment, I'd put it as too close to calls for the pack, especially.
Bryn knocked down by IQ 500. Hasn't quite been the day that Ferox would have liked, especially after their turnaround for day number 2 last weekend. Bryn is going to be eliminated. Samoya will be revived. Quite a few deaths actually very early on, surprising. I don't know, only 5, but on Miramar, 8 minutes in, on Edge. I think that's surprising. Typically, Miramar's the sort of map that you just see a bunch of knocks from a distance, revives take place. Obviously, the fact that LG Divine wiped out Magic Esport is a large reason for that, but it's still quite staggering. And it really just opens up the map now, as we see with 14 seconds to go. The center, they're going to be happy, going to be fine. And even with this circle shift now, there's still a lot of real estate available, a lot of areas available. It does make Crater less impactful. Klee's going to be knocked by Belmoth for Daytrade, finished by Norins. Daytrade on the board and another death to the tally. But water treatment sort of area is definitely going to be a factor. I'm not sure if we're going to get that Oasis finish, but around where Bay and LG Divine are located, really good positions, and Fury will make their way past Hacienda now.
The odds of it going up to that Oasis area is pretty much slim to none at this point, I'd say. Especially once you get to that phase 4 and it's going to force away the rocks. Unless we have 2 really hard shifts, I just don't see it happening. But we do have our leader at the moment, LG Divine. But when you're getting fed, it doesn't matter where you are, really. So
yeah,
you just take that one on your stride.
Pick'em challenge code on your screen. You're quick enough to get that one in. Best of luck. As teams continue their rotations here for phase 2 of Miramar, which is usually actually a bit quieter than Erangel. Obviously, we had the LG Divine wipe on the Magic Esport, but outside of that, we go back to normality now. A lot of teams already situated early on. This is going to be they can get just circle sweep style play at the moment intact around the water treatment area. I find that I would say Miramar is a harder map for that sort of playstyle compared to Erangel. A lot more open areas, a lot more open terrain. But they do have a decent compound out towards the east. In terms of where I think the action is going to take place, obviously towards the center here. LG Divine, they've actually had this position in one of the earlier Miramar matches, and they got completely fed onto this compound edge. From there they went on and obviously won the game, which was surprising to me because
teams can get in under your compound and sort of surround you and it makes it really difficult for you to actually get out of the compound. So that's the big advantage to playing on the low ground there, and it's really difficult as well to sort of run down a hill in the open, where running up you've got less threats if your back's already clear. So might be why it's a little bit favoured there, but we've still got a little while until I think a lot of the fighting will break out here, and Purple Mood's actually kind of prepared for if it goes north here, and I really, really hope it does. I'd love to see that circle.
yeah, it can still go north, at least for phase number Purple Mood situated just south of Oasis. Daytrade actually up north of Oasis at the moment. A lot of teams already pretty much at their compounds, at their locations. Everyone's quite settled. Not a lot of movement, more so just Daytrade rotating up north around Oasis. Angel Alliance just on the edge of La Cobria. And 10 seconds away from phase number 3. You can see on the map now, everyone's pretty happy with their locations. Very aggressive split from Verox. They've got Sweet Soul over on the top of Crater, just trying to get as much vision as possible. And they are going to be quite fortunate with this circle. It is away from Oasis. It's on top of Bay. LG Divine don't necessarily have to move. Buriram will have to continue sweeping the edge of the circle, but I don't know if they can hold east of this circle, though. They'll be on the wrong side of the road. They'll be open to the likes of LG Divine. It's going to be tricky for them, but they might have to rotate up to the north side, play to those rocks, and look to...
That might be the option for them there. Bay is actually sitting pretty here. Levi's looks like he is actually taking a bit of compound off Bay, taking the lower side of the shanties, as Levi's gets a... And it doesn't look like it's going to be going well, as Hydra Gaming has actually taken everything in the close vicinity to From the Future, but From the Future may just be going for this anyway.
Zuzu's continued on, just trying to go past, trying to get around and come in from behind and pin to them, but it's Triple X from the front. Does get Mickey, was flashed for a short amount of time. Rabbit's done well, did get a knock, but there is Zuzu, who did well to come around the backside here and get that pincer onto the two members of Hydra Gaming. Had a 2-2 split with 2N Robo and Simon at the warehouses, and unfortunately for Rabbit and Mickey, they're going to be the unfortunate. Out to the east, they didn't go for that northern wrap. They're happy to just keep their current position. Obviously, for pretty much all the teams that were out to the west, around teams move. Dare say for the future, that are really movement here for phase number 3. So again, another quiet circle here. 14.5 minutes into this match. We've got a minute until phase number 4, which is where I then expect everything to kick off.
Yeah, I definitely think it will. As soon as some of these edge teams get forced in, like, you'd look at this circle and you go, alright, well, this kind of has to come hard south, get out the big unplayable rocks. So Purple Mood should be forced down, Daytrade will be forced down, and then you've got a lot of teams fighting for edge positions on that southern side as well, from the north and west. So there's going to be a lot of fighting. Buriram's put themselves in a position on these outside ridges, as we see now, to sort of scout in and look towards the likes of Hydra and LG Divine. And if they can get a pick, that might be their go time to push in. And Canaxi's got an Orm, so you get hit by that bad boy, you're getting breached for sure here.
Purple Mood just found a knock earlier onto Venotica, then Rocky Gyms will get the flush. That's up north. Circle goes south though, right on top of Battle Arena Elite. Division X in a good spot too. From the future, their position that they pushed on before is in, so they will be able to get and reap the benefits of those rewards here. Now, Buriram have finally made the move. We have been keeping an eye on them, talking about them out here. It might be difficult for them to get past LG Divine. For the most part, they've got by. Levi's just going to send it out of here. Smart play. Hasn't North so close as Nordra want to steal the kill here. They're all just picking apart like vultures to a carcass, and it's actually Loki's who comes out on top for Bay, stealing Nordra. But I'll tell you what, Buriram have got 2 members in. Edie and Canaxi are in, got Meow making the last second dash over as well. If they can get all 3 into this sort of position, Buriram is a team that can play well with 3. Double kill for Edie. Does get knocked though for his effort for pushing out and being aggressive. It's NamC from a distance who gets the knock. Canaxi quickly with a smoke. Does have this little fence though to at least block any other incoming damage, as God Meow's also still struggling to get over. And Buriram definitely sweating for it here in this match.
Yeah, Buriram getting a little bit gifted here as well with the 2 sets of 3 gear and the Orm and the Grozer. So they're sitting pretty at the moment in the way of armor, but we've got LG Divine, Jun on the push, looking to try and pick up anything onto Buriram right now. They want
gap between Buriram and LG Divine. Mood also have got their eyes, and this is of course Miramar in a nutshell. You stand on top of a ridge and suddenly 10 people can see you all at once, so you cannot be standing still at any moment, at any time. A minute and 20 seconds until phase 5. We probably haven't even seen the full effects of this phase 4 circle going down. Teams that do have into positions or even into the circle in general, like this day trade team who are just banged up and wounded. They've had a rough CS3, and that pickup truck has seen better days. It's missing. It's got 2 injured players. Belmoth has been knocked. Day trade are just struggling into this circle. They're limping in.
Yeah, and even where they pull up now is not a good spot at all. You've got Angel Alliance on the outskirts where you're needing to push in. You've got the likes of Division X on the high ground that are going to be gatekeeping you every second of the day. It's not really looking very likely that the day trade can make it into.
Norin's eliminated, Poochills is gone too, and so is everyone from Day Trade Gaming down into the bottom 4 for a team that's usually competing in the top 6 or 7 positions for PCS throughout 2020. Certainly having a bit of a shocker so far. Hexagon will get the revive of the Gypsy Danger. We've seen phase 5 now, right on top of Victim Rise. Rain's in a good position for Ferox. Just needs the reinforcements from Monty and Sweet Salt. Ferox playing with the 3 this game as Angel Alliance will begin their trek over the road towards Division X Gaming. Evil Patrick leading the way. He's actually been able to make it over pretty safely unscathed. Although I would imagine Division X know that he has pulled up close by as Triple X keeping his eye corner in this warehouse. As the rest are from the future will of course want to pick up a few kills here.
Yeah, and it looks like their efforts to pick up some kills is kind of being set behind a little bit now as Purple Mood's starting to make their way up the hill as well. So future not as safe as they would have liked. Shots come out towards Unicorn Cyber, but nothing to come of it just yet. Unicorn Cyber looking to get
do finally switch over to it now. Namsi, the solo, and the Miramar streak has come to an end. Unless somehow Namsi can hold on for the next 12 minutes or so as a solo. I don't even think he'll hold on for the next 30 seconds. Sharper Esports have done a tremendous job to beat out Levi's and Jun. 5 kills for LG Divine, so they are going to pick up 5 kill points, and it's a trend edge that we saw from PCS to Fortunately, not going to bounce any further from Wanky Kamuka. He's going to provide now shot. He's not going to get anything from that. In fact, he would have ended up blowing himself up anyway. That nade didn't even get over the crate. Now Cerberus, after getting the revive, they can push onto the compound of Fury. No kills yet for them. Nade might go too far and away. No? Yes? Hisaki's low. The Molotovs. No more nades now for inside, but the Molotovs might do the trick here. Flood playing from inside this building. Might want to just dip out and actually have a bit better of a field of view. But then, of course, you take the risk for that. So Fury are basically just going to play defense and wait for Cerberus to push on in.
Yeah, and they're doing a good job of it so far, picking up Basil, getting the back player out, but so Olsey gets Ronan in trade. Waikiki Mukau has 3 players very close and can't get out that window, luckily to do so now. But Fury needs to get their man up, needs to take this as a 4v3. Don't want to lose any players here because it'll definitely hinder your progress into the next coming zones. And
yeah, this compound really as well is in the next circle as well for phase number 6. We've seen it here. There is a lot of teams that you can't see on that minimap that are really far up north. There's probably about 6 teams. Zone. Great dropping on top of Edie as he's driving by. Fury did get that revive, so they got 4 up right now. Here comes Buriram United though. Edie from behind. They're walking into what is already a pretty significant ongoing battle. Edie's just going to get flushed though by Waikiki Mukau picking up that kill. God Meow though, not deterred. Buriram from Victim Rise, they're at an 11th. and unable to capitalize on LG from this match. And I think Fury have had enough. It's go time. They're going to get on the front foot here. No more defense. Now they switch to offense. Ronan pushes on to Haisaki. Takes a lot of damage. Insight was going to go around the back anyway. Look for that retrade if he had a lost the fight. He did it. He did lose to Sololzi though. Jumping out of that window is always going to be tough. But Wayakika Mukau is on something right now, and they can get the revive onto Insight. Fury come out on top against Cerberus. A big fight to win edge. Not only do they get the compound, they stay alive in this game, but they can now capitalize on BUKAN and LG Divine.
That was absolutely a must-win fight there for Fury. That allows them so much in this game. They've got the compound. If they can just like get this into, you know, your top 3 placements with some more kills, they're going to be absolutely laughing. They're going to close the gap onto BUKAN, make it a lot easier to catch up to Divine. We would a lot earlier, but Hexagon needs to do work and can't get anything done there as he gets taken down from Long K.
They're up to 8 kills now as they get Sweet Soul. 3 quick points acquired. This is turning into a massive game for Fury, looking for their second chicken dinner potentially as well. The fact that they're going to have 4 alive. The only other team with 4 up is Victim Rise, who have got a 2-2 split. Can you believe it? All the way now to this, what is it, 7th phase, and they're still holding a 2-2 split. Samoy, Chibaret are going to have to eventually make their way over to Gemforce and Kamals. I don't know how they're going to do that, though, in such open terrain. 4 kills for Angel Alliance, though. Banging on it all night. If Miramar is their map, and they're showing it, and they're bringing it here for the team from the Philippines. Miramar more than Erangel.
I would assume so, yes. And this circle as well, this actually really favours them because they can still play this high ground. I'm not sure how open it is to the lower comms, but we're going to see players loading up. This is either going to be, well, this is just going to be straight mayhem here.
A little bowl, it's actually a very large bowl, but the elevation is not so great. They have got 4 players up, not going for the immediate breach. I think this actually really highlights the difference between, say, an Oceanic team and a team like, for example, LG Divine and BUKAN. Those teams would have just breached Sharper by now, as we saw from BUKAN earlier. We've seen from LG Divine many times. Fury, though, a little bit more conservative. They want to hold, they want more information. Fortunately, if they do, and when they do, on to Sharper Esport, Sharper Esport got 3 players right out, but they are going to be at a disadvantage, but they're the only 3. Victim Rise, Angel Alliance, and Fury all still with 4 players up here as the final 4 teams here for match 3 of day 3. And Angel Alliance have come to the fray here on Miramar like I thought they would. Victim Rise also doing well, keeping them in the 10. That has started to form a bit of a gap from the teams in 11th and 12th and 13th as well.
Yeah, what we'll be seeing from the likes of Fury here is, and it also, I'm not sure if Angel Alliance has got a vehicle, but is able to get a knockout on either one of these compounds. That'll be their go signal. They really don't have much to play with here, as Flood actually gets a knock onto Nam on the opposite hill. But that they'll be trying to go for that knock, and if they can get one, that's their go signal to make.
The vision of Sharper Esport more than anything. Throw most of it at the compound, a little bit at the start. Don't even worry about the middle of this field because you're just going to be driving through it anyway, really. Victim Rise, Angel Alliance, how much pressure are those 2 teams as well going to pile on to Fury? This is a really well-played smoke, although the driving skills of Wayne Kikamuka and the minibus certainly leaving some questions here. Kim Silver does have a nade, brought it back to the barrel though, takes a bit of damage. That would have been from the backside. Victim Rise or Angel Alliance, for instance, as well. But Fury have at least made it to some cover. Flood finds a knock. They're not inside of this next circle though. The blue is moving. They've got 50 seconds to basically deal with Sharper Esport, or at the very least, push in, make some room. You're going to have to fight it out. They can't hold this position forever. Flood though gets 2 kills against Angel Alliance.
BUKAN now. This breach is kind of looking good for them as well. Sharper player in the open building, then this will be a really good good breach for them.
And Victim Rise have got 4 up. They're kind of like the final boss. They can also, of course, with a team knock as well. Kamel's and knocks and Ronan, and all of a sudden Fury go from 4 standing to 2.
Yeah, it's not looking good, especially with all this pressure that VTR is putting on now. VTR up close and personal. Insight goes to finish against Sharper, but will get taken out. So it's all left up to one player now.
Oh, well, that's not the way that Fury would have liked to end the game. A great game nonetheless, but it's Victim Rise who come away with the chicken dinner. Anticlimactic a little bit towards the end, but well played from Victim Rise pretty much for the most of that game. They held a nice 2-2 split all the way till phase 7, really increasing their chances of getting that circle luck. Kamal's, Chibaret, 3 kills apiece. Well played to them, and I believe it is their first chicken dinner so far for PCS3 APAC. Indeed it is. That's going to, of course, bump them up the standings into the top 6. They are close to Bay, who are in 5th, only 3 points behind them. So a big game to be had for a lot of teams not named BUKAN and LG Divine.
Yeah, it's nice to have another team getting a chicken dinner there, and it's nice to see VTR getting themselves from the middle of the pack and pushing themselves up towards that top 5. They're slowly closing the gap, because we saw in PCS2 they did have a pretty good finish towards the end as well. So
yeah,
if they can bring in that kind of level of play as well, that'd be nice to see. Fury pushing themselves into 2nd, equal points with BUKAN, so another solid game there, and again got 2 teams within very easy distance of LG Divine.
Yeah, as we see the highlights here, it kind of kicked off the entire game with LG Divine. They didn't last very long though. In fact, well, this compound for phase 5 ended up being the final compound by the end of it when it was all said and done. Started out with Tanoi, who got the majority of the members of LG Divine. This was a big fight. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to see, although fortunately it's in the replay package, so you can see how it all played out. Tanoi being the star man there for Sharper Esport, who for them are still in 4th position. They got a nice 10-point gap over Bay, who are in 5th. They're looking pretty good. And I'd say the top 5 is starting to really become solidified. If you're not in the top 5 at this point, know who is going to be able to dislodge them. But I guess the teams that are pushing to do that, or Bay, don't think that top 3 will change though, although who knows, funny things can happen. Speaking of the top 3 though, you brought up a good point in terms of now having 2 teams close to LG Divine, 23 points considering Fury and BUKAN both tied on 95, LG Divine on 118. It wasn't LG's game. Obviously the streak broken from 5 games. They have won 4 in Miramar, but they don't win this one. They did pick up 5 kills though, and I kind of wanted to bring it up in the game. I touched on it briefly, but a lot was happening. That's been the staple for them throughout 2020. In the games that they don't win, they don't get high placement finishes, Edge, they still go and find 5 or 6 points somewhere.
Yeah, it's really been the story of their team, is if you're not winning, you're getting 5 points and then dipping out. But, you know, I think especially now, just looking at how competitive Fury and BUKAN are really being at the moment, I think it's really time that's kind of not going to cut it. You need to be getting some placement points with that as well.
I mean, I definitely feel what you're saying here, and I think actually it was Elvish Guy who alluded to it last weekend, that once this Miramar train does come to a bit of a halt, which obviously they weren't going to win, they weren't going to go undefeated on Miramar, it was not going to happen, so at some point they were going to slow down, is what else is there? What else is left in the tank? How are they going to go on Erangel? Is that going to sort of even it out? Look, I'll say this though, if they're going to continue to have their best games, which is 15, 16 points, and mix that with their worst games being 6 points, typically history says they're going to go on and win. So it's a matter of if those 5 or 6 point games becomes too common, which going back to PCS2 APAC, that's exactly what happened. they had way too many in a row where they got like 3, 4, 5 games where they were only getting those 4, 5 or 6 kills, and they weren't having those massive monster wins that they had at the start of PCS2 APAC, and now in this case that they had at the start of PCS3 APAC. Here is match number 3 so far for tonight. We've got, of course, one more game to go. Fury, Victim Rise, both sharing the spoils from this match, 16 points apiece. Sharper Esport as well with 14, and for Division X Gaming, a bit of a reprieve because they were starting to slump down the standings. Nice 12 points there.
Yeah, they've had a pretty solid Miramar overall. Division X is kind of a team that I feel like they can, but at the same time, will they? You know, they're a little bit inconsistent for my liking, but I think they definitely have that potential to push themselves up there. They are sitting in that ninth place as we see right now. So, and still, they're 5 points from 6th. It's not far at all. It doesn't take too much, and I think we've seen their Miramar kind of being a little inconsistent as well.
You can see there on the total leaderboard, in terms of kills, nothing really separating the top 4, 62, 62, 60, and 60. A substantial drop-off after that. In terms of the placement points, though, it is very, very tight from 2nd to 8th. Obviously, LG Divine have got a lot of placement points due to their 5 wins. And the other one, of course, is winning. Chicken Dinners. Of the top 7, 6 have got a win. And Sharper Esports, the only team yet to find a win in that top 7. And no team has found a win outside of the top 7. So winning, very much important here in this APAC lobby.
It is, and a team who really shows that from PCS2 is Fury, because they didn't get a win last time, and potentially that's what they needed to bring home the tournament.
Potentially that was the difference in the end for Fury. Well, of course, they're looking for redemption. They've been able to get that point gap down, 23 points, alongside Buriram United chasing LG Divine. One more game to go tonight. We'll go to a break. When we come back, it's Miramar once again. Well, can you believe it? We are already down to just our final game of the night. It's gone pretty quick here for day 3 of PCS3 APAC. Of course, Miramar to come, and then we do it all over again tomorrow for then our next 4 games. But Edge, regardless, this is going to be the halfway mark now. After this match has been played out, we're going to know a lot more about potentially what the second half of the season is going to look like.
Yeah, and it's looking like a little bit of a repeat of last PCS, I'm not going to lie, but, you know, it could get a little bit more spicy, who knows? We could have BUKAN pick up 5 wins in a row or something ridiculous like that. You know, PUBG is one of those games that every game, it's different, you can't tell, so
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, the one thing we can tell is that it's going to be essentially like a 3-way battle right to the end here for PCS3 APAC. Fury, BUKAN throughout 2020, both teams have felt like they've missed out on one, that they probably should have had a PCS victory under their belt. For LG Divine, of course, winners for PCS2 APAC, they're looking to be the first team to win 2 PCS events. I think the other team being Sonics, potentially also this season of PCS in North America, look like they will be able to do that feat as well. But, as you mentioned, very much looking like PCS2, and in this case, it's the gap has already shrunk. Not only was the gap not as big, but it's already shrunk just as quickly. 23 points now, that's it, that's all, that's not much. If LG Divine bow out early here, and either BUKAN or Fury have a monster game, there could essentially be no gap between first and second when it's all said and done tonight. The damage so from the match 11 that we just saw, DENGAN, big for Angel Alliance, representing the Philippines. Massive game from them. They looked amazing once again on what is essentially their home soil of Miramar. This is where they do their best work. Maximus, no surprise, sharper, involved all the way towards the end. Sophia continues what has been a tremendous personal PCS3 event for him, and Flood leading the way for Fury. Long K for Division X in that match. Nice spread to see 5 different teams in terms of the damage for top 5.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace. It's nice to have a little bit of variety, and it's nice to see, you know, some players that we might not normally see up there, like from Angel Alliance. You don't really regularly see them up there, but obviously Miramar's been their map so far, so they're really putting it to them.
They certainly are. Look, there are still a few other teams that can put it to LG Divine and BUKAN and Fury. Sharper Esport, by no means are they out of it. They are only on 81 points, which is 14 points behind second and third, so they're still very much a team to keep an eye on. Then you got Battle Arena Elites, and we know how quickly that a team like that can get points. We saw it in PCS2, we've seen it with this iteration, of course, without Flood and now with Jukesy. Outside of that, though, outside of those 2 teams, I do start to feel like the pack drops off a little bit. I would certainly still give Cerberus every chance, even though they're in 7th position at the moment. Magic have started to drop a little bit. Division X, of course, we've spoken about there. Their fortunes have really, unfortunately, turned in the wrong direction. They've dropped 2, and that's basically it. I mean, you could look at Victim Rise as well. They obviously just won the last game, but notably not a team that's usually competing in the top 3.
Yeah, that's right. Back to like the likes of Cerberus, they really haven't had that sort of good game since their win in round 8 last week. And you know, they've only got, what's that, 2 kills tonight and a couple of placement points. So tonight has been incredibly rough for them, and it's not what I expected from them at all.
No, certainly not. As we head into our final match of the night, the halfway mark for PCS3 APAC. 12 out of 24 matches from this point on, where we go into the second half of the season. LG Divine, though, still ranking points on Miramar, 70. Ridiculous. Next best is Sharper, Division X, and VTR in the 40s. Fury not too far behind on 35. They've obviously done the brunt of their work, more so on Erangel, so it was actually very positive for them to have a big performance on Miramar, which, ironically, used to be considered their best map in the past many months, and at this point many years ago.
Yeah, that's right. It seems like forever ago where Miramar was considered their sort of best map, and it's only just now that they're coming back into form. So it's definitely nice to see. It looks like we're having a little bit of a hot drop here on Los Leones between Fury and Purple Mood, which is quite unusual, and I'm not sure that Fury will be all for this, as I believe it's Flood picks up an M16 and is looking for the player who's dropped in town.
And Los Leones, though, as a city, is quite large.
Ooh, and that's
if you are going to have two teams dropping here, you can split up. It's probably the hardest city to actually hop a team specifically. Usually you would, if you're actively seeking to hurt the chances, that does loot there. It's also cutting rotations and trying to catch them as they come.
If you're hot dropping someone, you're not hot dropping Fury, you're not hot dropping BUKAN or Divine. They're just way too strong in their team fights and team coordination. I want to go down that road.
The settings for Flood from Fury.
feed for Ferox. But being PUBG, anything can happen. This could even still just hard go towards the south or the east here as well.
Porto Paraíso as well, not a very large dock town. Could go down to Unicorn Cyber at the beach. Although you brought it up, even though Phase 4 is the circle that has the water setting, PUBG tends to just like to push away from it anyway. Phase 3 usually does the job for Phase 4 to a degree. It's almost like the hidden setting. It's not quite there, but feels like it is. 5 more seconds. It's Phase 3. Game 4 of the night, our final night, throw up a doozy. Yes, it does!
This is
yes,
spicy.
It does.
This is what we want.
Well, Ferox are in a great spot, technically, but they're going to have a tough ask here for Phase 3 and then potentially Phase 4 as well, because so many teams will either be trying to go past them or into them or around them. They are going to be in the hotspot area. BUKAN very much at Porto Paraíso, Division X as well, decent spot on the beach, and Unicorn not too bad either. Every team not in the circle right now, where do they go, Edge?
I think they just drive until they find something and stop, and whether you're fighting or whether reached by literally 8 teams right now.
Yeah.
It's just way too much of a risk.
What a circle though to finish off the night. It's of course our final game tonight for PCS 3 APAC, the halfway mark of the season. 12 out of 24 games as Gypsy Danger, just trying to find the kill there. Still so many teams that have to make their way in, which is why we're seeing so many teams just driving through here on the main road. I think Wacky Kamukau spun out. He's driving backwards at the moment. He's literally reversing. Flood, Road and Insight have all continued on in a pretty decent fashion. There's Niles ran out of ammo though for Division X, and somehow Fury have made it alive, except for Cal.
And potentially Ronan, it's looking like, as he pulls up towards Unicorn Cyber and gets taken out. So it's all left up to little old Insight now. He does have a little bit of an area on the beach, but that will be all. They all went their separate ways, and it's definitely not worked out in their favour. But we still have, even still, like 6 teams left to make it into the circle now. Ferox, surprisingly enough, hasn't been breached. But it's just going to get so congested when the rest of these teams try and make their way.
Divine coming in quite late. We recall back, they've only got the 3 players after losing one very early on. They've just lost another one actually, Jordan knocked by Jukesy. Insight does find a kill, unfortunately for Fury, down to just 1 player remaining. They have got at least 3 kills, it's something. It's a small amount of kills, does bring the gap to 20 points, and well, it's not like JN and Levi's, the duo for LG Divine, are going to be able to go on and get a hefty amount of points. At best, a couple kills. As we do get Phase 4, should go on to Sharper and Ferox, and does. In fact, there's still even a bit of the water in over at the beachfront next to Division X, Cerberus and Fury. Of course, inside the solo. Sweet Soul with a knockdown onto Jukesy. And this is where Ferox need to find kills, though. Obviously, it's a bit difficult when you're sitting inside of this. Get on the board.
Yeah, it looks like they might. Never mind, they don't get the bleed out onto Jukesy there, as Jayend will steal that one away with the grenade. So, a good point gain there from LG Divine, but as you're saying, Ferox really does need everything they can get right now. They've got the compound, but they just need some kills.
Oh, no.
That's not good either. That's good night for Insight. Ferox having a reasonably decent night tonight. They would have liked to have a better one going into this last game, but 3 out of 4 isn't bad odds.
Great play for Cerberus, who need every point they can get, wiping out Fury. VTR down to 1, Magic Esport down to 1 as well, and obviously as we've seen, LG Divine down to 2. So a lot of teams wounded, despite the fact that we've got 15 teams alive. There's only 47 players, 17 minutes in. It has slowed down here for Phase 4, just sort of boiling for what's going to be a very pressure cooker situation for Phases 5 and 6. Genfos, pretty good position, but the solo for VTR. What can he achieve from here on out? Potentially some placement points if all goes right. JN did find a kill for LG Divine, so they did find just spotting Nordra from Buriram United. Doesn't take the shot, not just yet. The rest are from the future just behind, crossing the road now. He's kind of just like the Overwatch, watching and sending in the comms. Well, this is, you don't see this every day.
No, but it's a nice addition actually having the ramps there. It's a little bit of extra playable terrain that you can use, a little bit of hard cover, and it's nice to see that bit of verticality coming out and being able to be used here. But from the future, do get one player knocked. They will be able to get the revive up, and it's just whether they can really capitalize and pick up anything onto Buriram here.
Fury or Buriram that do capitalize. In this case, Buriram have got 4 players up. No points gained yet. But, or at best I think actually they've gained 1, but that's all it is so far. For Fury, they did get the 3 kills. LG Divine have been able to counter with 2 kills of their own. They're still alive. They're close by to Ferox, who still have a bit of a split. This could go horribly wrong for Ferox if Levi's is able to get in and help out J-End at this position. 8 seconds. Does Phase 5 continue to head to Ferox, which would certainly be a blessing for Levi's and JM, buying them so much time, and it does. LG Divine still in the circle, Ferox still in, but it's Sharper Esports who are the biggest recipients here for Phase 5 Edge.
Yeah, Ferox are actually grouping up now to try and clean out the rest of LG Divine. They don't want to lose 2 players in a 2v2 fight. They want to make it a 4v2 here potentially, as we see Day Trade starting their fight with a 2v2 onto the Purple Mood players. Ferox starting to put the pressure on towards Levi's. They have no idea that J-End is behind them in the warehouse. Rain spots him out. J-End gets a nice tag. Levi's still playing it very patiently. They've almost forgotten that there could be another player close by as Levi's picks up Bryn there, and that is worst case scenario for Ferox. They can't let him get another one here. Able to as Levi's pick it up. It's all left up to Monty now, and Monty's running over to help his team.
LG Divine are out. Fortunately for Ferox, just moments. Purple Mood, they were getting involved. So LG Divine eliminated. I think the revives will take place for Ferox. So only 1 kill gained there for LG Divine. 121 points. That's where they sit so far tonight. Of course, we are back tomorrow night. Edie has been the front man for Buriram so far. The PCS 3, they're going to have to count on him again as they are. They lost 1 player throughout all of that. I don't actually know if they got any of the kills. As from the future starts to creep up. Of course, all of this still inside of the circle. Canaxi got Rabbit, you can see it in the kill feed, so that has just kicked off between Buriram and Hydra Gaming. Buriram so far on top there. And a knock onto Sweet Soul, and that's another knock, so he's bleeding out profusely. Triple X with the kill from the future.
It hasn't been too favourable, especially losing Sweet Soul from Triple X there. This hasn't been good, and from the future has such a strong hold on their position. As we see Division X Long K clean up the last 2 players of Hydra Gaming. They will have a little bit more control now. All they have to worry about is Buriram in that petrol station. Buriram playing the late game here, waiting until everyone's forced in, and then they strike.
10 teams, 30 alive, final game of the night. Buriram at this petrol station don't have to worry too much in terms of this Phase 6 circle. They can move up quite freely. It's more so the southwest part. We've got a lot of teams close by. Genfos getting pushed and aggressed by Angel Alliance. He found 2 kills as a solo. Unfortunately, though, he couldn't get VTR into the top 8 for some placement points. Nan's going to be eliminated by Subang of Cerberus. And despite Angel Alliance's big turnaround on Miramar, they are now down to just 2 players, just short of the top 8 as well. They might get eliminated here by Cerberus. Monty just navigating these wheat fields, trying to duck and move and get into this next circle. Mad Dog's been knocked down and finished by Venotica. There's 1 left. It's Evil Patrick. 5 kills for Day Trade. One of their better performances so far for PCS3 APAC as Isaki mated by Venotica. Patrick can't win that one. Venonica's on a tear right now. He's got 3. Isaki will be eliminated very, very shortly as he bleeds out. Venotica, I think, might be the recipient of that kill as well, as Sololzi and Subang are the last 2 for Cerberus. It's Day Trade coming in.
The rest of Cerberus here, and hopefully for them clean up the last 2 remaining players, but they do have a little bit of a roadblock in Division X just on the edges. Looks like Team Ferox is about to be cleared out by Sharper. Monty will get a trade onto Kim Siva, but I don't think he's going to be able to get too much more here. He's not in the zone. He needs to push in towards the 4 players who are very well entrenched in their compound at the moment. And it just doesn't look like Ferox's night tonight.
Soul as to maybe what went wrong tonight as they do bow out with the single placement point. 22 alive, 7 teams, 24.5 minutes gone for our final game of the night. BUKAN up to 98 points. They haven't really set this game alight, but Edge, as we get towards the end of this game, this is where they can do the work, start to clean up, win these fights, and they can finish this game with a 10 or a 12 kill win, and that would put them right up into that top spot.
Yeah, I really think that probably this circle now that we're about to see, as soon as this starts closing, that's when BUKAN comes on alive. They start to wrap the edge, and it looks like they're starting to go towards the west now. Once they push that west, they'll start cleaning out teams. They'll look at from the future first, clean out from the future, and then continue their from strength to strength here, and that's playing on the edge. And
the points, they jump up into Zakin over Fury. Of course, Sharper Esports still in this match with 4 players up. They're a big threat. They're looking to potentially end the night around the same position as Fury. From the future, they were certainly going to be up against it. And I'm not sure if going down that cliff was the right play. Somehow, the Hexagon wins over the barrel. That's one fight you would have expected Edie to win, considering how he's been playing throughout PCS3 APAC. 1 goes down, 1 takes his place, though. They get the smokes out in order, looking to hold. He cops a large chunk of damage. Triple X from above, from the future, have just torn right through BUKAN United. 2 members gone. 2 remain. Canaxi and God Meow. Here again, despite Canaxi getting 2 knocks, he is going to be knocked himself by Triple X. God Meow outside of the circle, and BUKAN, for all of their position, for all of their play, and for all of the talk about sweeping the edge of circle, they have capitulated here in the final match of the night.
Yeah, I was expecting so much more there from BUKAN, and it doesn't look like God Meow's going to be able to get anything as well, as he's slowly getting closed in by Long K. We do have a battle of the Titans right now, Long K being a very strong player for Division X in the past. He starts up with that headshot, will clean up very quick from LG Divine, but we've still got Sharper and Division X really needing points right now, trying to get their way back towards that top 3. Sharper kind of close, Division a little bit further behind, and then from the future way down, but they'll need this as well.
Big opportunity for Division X Gaming. At one point, they were down in 9th. They were sliding down the leaderboard, but to their credit, they've bounced back quickly. They haven't really needed much time between the games as well to rejig things and spot 3 players. And are they in a bad position because they're getting pressured from the north and the south, from the future and Division X.
Sharper does have a pretty nice high ground here, and they know that from the future's close by. That's why you see Kim Siver playing that prone spot, waiting from the future to sort of slip up a little bit as soon as they start fighting like they are now. That might be Sharper's time to move up. We have Zuzu waiting, but gets cleaned up by Kim Siver. So it's 2 players left now from the future. Division X with 10 kills, pushing in on the opposite end as Long K will pick up Hexagon. Good for Division X. They're only 10 points behind Sharper now.
21 points for Sharper, 81 for Division X. Cue the music. Cue the finale for tonight. 3 versus 4. Vietnam versus Thailand. Obviously for Sharper Esport, there's a lot on the line here. You get these 4 kills, you get this top spot, and you're looking at taking 3rd spot away from Fury. Otherwise, you lose this, and it's Division X who are... Bay did get pushed out. Fergus will get the opening knock onto Kim Siver. It's a big one, because Kim Siver's usually the one that finds the knocks and finds those entry frags for Sharper Esport. It's going to make it very, very difficult for Maximus and Tanoi, now in a 2 versus 4. They need to get 1. They should get 2 thanks to Tanoi. Onto Neil and Long K. Makes it a 2 versus 2. Fergus does get Tanoi though, quickly right back. 2 versus 1. Maximus probably doesn't sense he can go for the revive. The blue is of course moving as well. If he had to go for it, he had to have done it quickly. Fergus can go for the revive. He knows he's got IQ. Gets aggressive. Could that be his downfall? Spots 1, doesn't know where the second one is though, and is expecting that by this point he's up and about. Got the first aid kit off as well. Maximus though just gets sat down so quickly. Second one goes down too, and it's a big win for Division X Gaming. 15 kills, 25 points to close out the night. They have rocketed from about 10th position into the top 5, not quite enough to overtake Sharper Esports, but 3 points behind them isn't so bad, and they're 16 points above Battle Arena Elite. A bit of a gap has certainly formed there for the top 5.
Yeah, that was a big showing from Division X Gaming there. They started off in a boat. They boated all the way around to the port, docked in, and just played their edge from there. Absolutely monstrous performance from Division X. And Sharper as well. Sharper did such a solid job to just stay alive. They had 3-man for so long, picked up a couple of kills, kept on working forward. And it was just a solid top 2.
Definitely shows what Division X Gaming are capable of. They've done it before in the past. They've done it again here as well in this particular match. It keeps them in the race. And the race is certainly heating up here. 12 out of 24 games now have been completed. And we've got ourselves, I would consider, 6 very confident contenders. Outside of the top 6, I do find it difficult. Maybe Cerberus could turn their fortunes around. But the top 6 can all very much still walk away with PCS3 APAC. It's of course still the team to beat those LG Divine. Purple Mood don't want to start here as they got 2 members of Victim Rise. And what a start to the game it was.
Contenders position from being second to last. So for Purple Mood, they've done their job for tonight. They can keep pushing the rest of the nights, and they know that they've got that gap closed now.
10 points gained in the last 3 matches for LG Divine, yet they still hold a 20 and a 23 point gap over second and third. I guess it's just a testament, though, more so than anything, to the gap that they actually once had, which was around 40 points, and I think even 43 to third place for that matter. So, do you think that
punish? I think from the start of the night they closed it by like 10 points. So, you know, you keep that up. Divine can obviously still have good games here. They can still pick up wins, no worries. But for the likes of Fury and Buram, when they have their on games, they just look absolutely on fire. Like, we've seen one sort of double-digit kill game for Divine, but for the likes of Buram and Fury, they've had multiple. So they've definitely got the firepower to really bring this back in.
Of course, there's a few more, though, in terms of competitors. Not too far behind. Sharper Esport, Division X. Bay just falling away a little bit, but they're there and we know what they're capable of. What's your thoughts on Sharper and Division X? How much further can those two teams respectively take it in terms of, I guess, upsetting this top 3 balance?
I think Sharper is a team that I would put, from what I've seen so far, above Division X. I feel like Division X been a little bit too inconsistent. From what I've seen of Division X, they're really just riding like 1 or 2 good performances and then some really, really bad ones. So they need to get their averages up, and if they can do that, I have no doubt that they could be like a consistent top 5 contender amongst the rest. But I feel like Sharper is the more consistent, stronger team at the moment.
25 points, that's the most points that a team has been able to get so far for PCS3 APAC in one game. Goes to show the testament of their strength. When they can show their best, they can definitely compete with anyone. But as you said, inconsistency has probably been their downfall, and at times, they can have some games where they don't really get much.
Yeah, and it's been a few too many times, I think, where they haven't got much at all. But something I would like to point out, that Unicorn Cyber has doubled their points in one night.
Yeah.
From what they had done over the 2 nights last week. So, stonks are rising for Unicorn Cyber.
They certainly are, and it's good to see. Obviously, you never really want to see a team sort of getting beaten down the bottom. So, you know, to their credit, 3rd, 6th, 2 kills, 2 kills, 2 kills. Much, much better night from them. They looked like a team competing and looking like they belonged here, more so than, I guess, the first 2 nights where they were getting battered and bruised and pushed around. You know, Purple Mood is another team as well who was in that second last position starting tonight, and now they've been able to get some points and really get into the thick of things. Look, it's a really even lobby, all things considered. Obviously, Ferox didn't quite kick on tonight, which is a bit disappointing, but Hydra Gaming were doing really well. They dropped a little bit tonight. Unfortunately, we actually gave them a bit of a hype up to start tonight, and then they only picked up 3 points for the whole night, Hydra Gaming, so they've dropped as well. So you've got some teams that, unfortunately, have dropped a bit tonight, but then the other teams that did well were the ones that didn't quite do as well last weekend. Angel Alliance, they had a good finish as well on Miramar, so another team with their own little storyline where it's not quite going well on Erangel, but it's going great on Miramar. From the Future, good end to the night for them. So there's a lot of, I would probably say every single team has had a good night, whether it's day 1, day 2, or day 3 now. So we've seen a bit of everything from everyone, which is really nice to see in this lobby, and it goes to show, I think by the end now here for 2020, this APAC region is as strong as it's ever been.
Yeah, and I think that's what you'll find is every competition where the teams are practicing against each other, it'll just get better and better until there's a point where potentially we could have, you know, 10 top teams that on any given day a different team can win. So it'll be great for competition, it's great for the viewer, and it's just, I think it's just great for the overall esport.
Yeah. Well, the final game, of course, match 12, top 5 damage. Kim Siva continues to be a top player for Sharper Esport, but no surprise to see Division X Gaming really rounding out the top 5 there. Fergus, Long K, IQ 500, always good signs when you're spreading the damage loads, more so than just put through one player, and they're all getting really high numbers too, so overall just signifies how strong a game Division X had.
Yeah, definitely did. And we see the damage as well. They maybe didn't have the